About sex quotes. Sex is a part of nature. I go along with nature. I am not bisexual. I am not gay. I have never had sex with men. I believe that sex is one of the most beautiful, natural, wholesome things that money can buy. Love is an ice cream sundae. With all the marvelous coverings, sex is the cherry on top. Sex without love is a meaningless experience, but as far as meaningless experiences go, it's pretty damn good. Women need a reason to have sex, men just need a place. Wherever there is a human being, I see God-given rights inherent in that being, whatever may be the sex or complexion. In advertising, sex sells, but only if you're selling sex. Sex appeal is not on purpose. I need more sex, okay. Before I die, I want to taste everyone in the world. Remember, sex is like a Chinese dinner. It ain't over till you both get your cookie. A woman is handicapped by her sex and handicaps society either by slavishly copying the pattern of man's advance in the professions or by refusing to compete with men at all. Sex is like washing your face, just something you do because you have to. Sex without love is absolutely ridiculous. Sex follows love. It never precedes it. I think there's a real sex appeal to vampires. They're very sexy. I'm a heroin addict. I need to have sex with women who have saved someone's life. I believe in using words, not fists. I believe in my outrage knowing people are living in boxes on the street. I believe in honesty. I believe in a good time. I believe in good food. I believe in sex. The Italians and Spanish, the Chinese and Vietnamese see food as part of a larger, more essential and pleasurable part of daily life, not as an experience to be collected or bragged about, or as a ritual like filling up a car, but as something else that gives pleasure, like sex or music or a good nap in the afternoon. Sex is as important as eating or drinking, and we ought to allow the one appetite to be satisfied with as little restraint or false modesty as the other. The big difference between sex for money and sex for free is that sex for money usually costs a lot less. One of the things being in politics has taught me is that men are not a reasoned or reasonable sex. Sex is the most beautiful thing that can take place between a happily married man and his secretary. I haven't trusted polls since I read that 60% of women had affairs during their lunch hour. I've never met a woman in my life who would give up lunch for sex. I was a Christian. I didn't want to have sex before marriage. I was a bit uptight and not very self-confident. I was a virgin until I was 26. Sex is God's joke on human beings. I never miss a chance to have sex or appear on television. In the duel of sex, woman fights from a dreadnought and man from an open raft. It's been so long since I've had sex I've forgotten who ties up whom. I expect to plead not for the slave only, but for suffering humanity everywhere. Especially do I mean to labor for the elevation of my sex. I suspect that some apparently homosexual people are really heterosexuals who deeply phobic about the opposite sex or have other emotional problems. I am hoping that I can be known as a great writer and actor someday, rather than a sex symbol. Social progress can be measured by the social position of the female sex. My wife wants sex in the back of the car, and she wants me to drive. Love without sex is still the most efficient form of hell known to man. An intellectual is a person who's found one thing that's more interesting than sex. Software is like sex. It's better when it's free. Sex is emotion in motion. I know a man who gave up smoking, drinking, sex, and rich food. He was healthy right up to the day he killed himself. Sex, the pleasure is momentary, the position ridiculous, and the expense damnable. They say you can rap about anything except for Jesus. That means guns, sex, lies, videotapes. But if I talk about God, my record won't get played. How? Though the sex to which I belong is considered weak, you will nevertheless find me a rock that bends to no wind. There are two things people want more than sex and money, recognition and praise. Sex at age 90 is like trying to shoot pool with a rope. There is more to sex appeal than just measurements. I don't need a bedroom to prove my womanliness. I can convey just as much sex appeal, picking apples off a tree or standing in the rain. I thank God I was raised Catholic, so sex will always be dirty. I remember the first time I had sex. I kept the receipt. I would rather have a cup of tea than sex. My fans love me. They've made me this sex symbol. I don't feel I am, but they feel that way. They find me attractive, like I'm a sexy dude. I try my best to make them believe the illusion. Sex pleasure in woman is a kind of magic spell. It demands complete abandon. If words or movements oppose the magic of caresses, the spell is broken. There's nothing better than good sex, but bad sex. A peanut butter and jelly sandwich is better than bad sex. In America, sex is an obsession. In other parts of the world, it's a fact. Some things are better than sex, and some are worse, but there's nothing exactly like it. A king is always a king, and a woman always a woman. his authority and her sex ever stand between them and rational converse. It's fine to have anal sex as long as you're not in high school. There is no age limit on the enjoyment of sex. It keeps getting better. I want to wait to have sex until I am married. All the songs we do are basically about one of three things: booze, sex, or rock and roll. Leaving sex to the feminists is like letting your dog vacation at the taxidermist. Sex is a doorway to something so powerful and mystical that movies usually depict it in a completely flat way. At some point, they must do a Borgen tour in Copenhagen, like the Sex and the City tour, but on bicycles. Women are systematically degraded by receiving the trivial attentions which men think it manly to pay to the sex, when in fact men are insultingly supporting their own superiority. If I ever have sex with someone, I might be able to develop a sense of humor. Being a sex symbol is a heavy load to carry, especially when one is tired, hurt, and bewildered. Diamonds are a girl's best friend, and dogs are a man's best friend. Now you know which sex has more sense. I've been a woman for a little over 50 years and have gotten over my initial astonishment. As for conducting an orchestra, that's a job where I don't think sex plays much part. It was a feeling of loyalty to our own sex and an enthusiasm to have every degradation that was put upon our sex removed. I and others of my sex find ourselves controlled by a form of government in the inauguration of which we had no voice. I love the Sex Pistols. I'm a big Beach Boys fan and a huge Zeppelin and Queen fan. I am still of opinion that only two topics can be of the least interest to a serious and studious mood: sex and the dead. When you see a person, do you just concentrate on their looks? It's just a first impression. Then there's someone who doesn't catch your eye immediately, but you talk to them and they become the most beautiful thing in the world. The greatest actors aren't what you would call beautiful sex symbols. The real story is that I had unprotected sex. That's easy. I've enjoyed the opposite sex a lot. Always have, always will. I'm aware that people see me as a sex symbol, but I know I can act. Sex without love is merely healthy exercise. I admit I have a tremendous sex drive. My boyfriend lives 40 miles away. I think same-sex couples should be able to get married. I need sex for a clear complexion, but I'd rather do it for love. Great sex is wonderful while it's happening, but who remembers great sex they had in 1983? Sex is the great equalizer. Once you see your nature, sex is basically immaterial. Sex is more exciting on the screen and between the pages than between the sheets. It's impossible to beat Katrina Kaif in looks and sex appeal. She's too hot. Forget sex or politics or religion. Loneliness is the subject that clears out a room. I rejected the notion that my race or sex would bar my success in life. Leaving sex to the feminists is like letting your dog vacation at the taxidermist. Sex is a part of love. You shouldn't go around doing it unless you are in love. The true feeling of sex is that of a deep intimacy, but above all of a deep complicity. Sex is the mysticism of materialism and the only possible religion in a materialistic society. Sex education has to do with what's in people's head. I love being regarded as a sex symbol, but I can't take it too seriously. Sex is energy.